This is 7 News, the voice of regional WA.
Tonight, a looming threat fears an ex-tropical cyclone could reform. Bringing coal to Collie, the unloading process begins for a controversial shipment. A special scorching experience for a Busselton-raised cricketer.
And ex-tropical cyclone Ellie isn't done with us yet. I'll have more on what that means for your place. 7
News begins now.
Hello and welcome to 7 News. Also tonight, a food poisoning scare spreads to regional WA. And more on that riot at the Banksia Hill Juvenile Detention Centre. But first, ex-tropical cyclone Ellie has unleashed havoc on the top end of our state. Residents and emergency services are bracing for more bad weather and predictions the system could form into a cyclone once again.
Roads in the Kimberley underwater. This is the aftermath of more than a week of heavy rain brought on by this, the swirling system that is ex-tropical cyclone Ellie. It's brought torrential rain and winds up to 90 kilometres an hour across the north of WA. And now there are warnings there's more where that came from.
At this stage, we are expecting to continue to see the influence of this system right the way through the end of the week. It's probably not going to be until the weekend that we really start to see it moving away and early next week before it clears the state.
Tonight, some of the Kimberley's major roads are closed due to flooding. That includes the Great Northern Highway between Derby and Halls Creek and the Gibb River Road east of Meter.
Between Wednesday and Thursday, we are expecting to see this system moving towards the Broome area. At this stage, most models suggest that it will remain inland of Broome, so east of Broome.
A severe weather warning is in place in areas from Broome to Columbaroo and Kununurra. DFES is warning wind and rain could damage property and make driving hazardous. The advice to locals: stay inside, close your curtains and blinds, unplug electrical appliances, and avoid using landline telephones if there's lightning. And if there's flooding, create your own sandbags by using pillowcases filled with sand and place them around doorways to protect your home. And if you're driving, don't drive into water of unknown depth. Watch out for hazards like fallen power lines. And if you can't see, pull over. There is a chance that if the system moves back over water, it will become a tropical cyclone once again. Brianna Melville, 7 News.
The first load of imported coal to guarantee WA's power supplies this summer is tonight being unloaded in Bunbury. The 50,000-tonne shipment has been brought in from New South Wales. It'll take a week and a half to truck the full load to Collie. A second shipment is already waiting off the WA coast.
The coal that will keep our power stations running this summer finally making landfall in Bunbury. 50,000 tonnes of coal from New South Wales will be unloaded and trucked in hundreds of shipments to Synergy's power plants in Collie. This is the first of 2 shipments. The Pan Poseidon has been sitting off Bunbury for weeks, and we're told the operation to unload her and transport the coal to Collie will take about 10 days. Every tonne is expected to cost WA an estimated $400. That's reportedly $320 a tonne, more than mining it from our own mines in Collie. Because not enough coal has been mined to guarantee power supplies, the state government says the importation is necessary. This coal has an ash contents of more than 20%. WA's power generators are optimised to burn the substance with significantly less ash. Concerns about the blending of local and imported coal were brought to the attention of Energy Minister Bill Johnston. He has said the energy grid is well prepared for summer. The coal union is expected to engage in talks with energy authorities soon. Premier Mark McGowan hasn't revealed the full cost of the shipment. The opposition says it all has been handled badly.
It's either the energy users or the taxpayers or both who are going to pay for this. Again, just a debacle.
The second ship loaded with coal is currently anchored off Bunbury and waiting to berth in the port. Adam DiTullio, 7 News.
A riot at the Banksia Hill Juvenile Detention Centre on New Year's Eve has increased calls for something to be done to stop the cycle. More than 20 teenagers, some as young as 13, managed to arm themselves with riot shields, batons and helmets before setting two buildings ablaze. They scaled the fence. Some couldn't be coaxed down until after midnight. Today, former Chief Judge of the District Court, Antoinette Kennedy, spoke to 7 News. She says locking up young people for extended periods of time hasn't been successful. She was startled to learn young people have been locked down in their cells for extended periods.
How could you possibly lock a boy up for 22 hours with no facilities, no resources, no company, and then be surprised if he takes the place apart? I mean, most people know how active boys are and how energetic they are, and this is from almost from when they're born, certainly to well into their 20s. And you just can't do that to a human being.
She says many of the offenders that came before her in an adult court already had a juvenile record.
And so you would think to yourself, this should have been caught long before they got to us. And if it had been caught long before they got to us, then they wouldn't be in front of us. You're creating these people. They are already, and people might want them to be punished, but these are kids who've been kicked in the teeth every time they've lifted their heads since the day they were born. Punishment is like water off a duck's back. It's going nowhere. They're used to being punished.
There were no reports of injuries during the New Year's Eve disturbance. Corrective Services is conducting a review into what happened. Broome Shire President has described an outbreak of New Year's Eve violence as disgraceful. 3 police cars were damaged during the incident that involved dozens of people.
Leaping on a police car bonnet and throwing around a street sign. Dozens of people caught on video, causing chaos along Doris Street in Broome, just 3 hours after 2023 kicked off, adding to an ongoing trend of out-of-control youth crime in the Kimberley. Some pelted objects at parked cars, while others got into fistfights. But not everyone showed up unarmed. WA police say 3 police cars were damaged and an investigation into the incident is ongoing. An Aboriginal-led on-country diversion facility will be up and running on a cattle farm in the region in the second half of this year. Jenny Shon, 7 News.
And the new year started on a sour note in Geraldton as well. Just after midnight, a fight involving about 30 people broke out in the suburb of Rangeway. 2 women in their 20s have been charged with disorderly behaviour. An outbreak of food poisoning caused by salmonella in a particular brand of baby cucumbers has now spread to regional WA. 19 people have now been infected, including 3 children who were sent to hospital. 8 of those affected are scattered throughout the southwest, Great Southern and Mid-West regions. The cucumbers, labelled Cukes, have been linked to a South Australian farm, which has now stopped production. Anyone who bought them last month should throw them away, and if you've recently eaten Cukes cucumbers, you should monitor for symptoms. Just before the Perth Scorchers took apart the Melbourne Stars at Optus Stadium last week, a young Southwest cricketer got a taste of what his future could be like. Busselton-raised 16-year-old Hayden Collins warmed up with the team and sat with them as the game unfolded.
Hayden Collins is part of the WA Cricket Foundation's Aboriginal Talent Pathway. Last Friday, he became a Scorcher for a day, getting to warm up with the team before they played, given special change room access and sat in the dugout during the game. He was shown the ropes by one of his favourite Scorchers.
Pretty much all the players have had a good chat with Mitch Marsh, so that's been really cool and been able to pick his brains.
And he didn't waste the opportunity when he got the chance to speak to Mitch Marsh.
I've asked him quite a few questions, so yeah, just like preparation, like pre-ball routines and stuff like that, so yeah, it's been good.
The teenager is an up-and-coming star, the first player to make 3 consecutive centuries in the underage WA Premier League since Marcus Harris. He says there are now better opportunities for young Indigenous players.
I think it's growing throughout WA, it's improving, so I think it's like the pathways are getting better, so I think it's really important for them to have the same opportunities as other kids.
Hayden's also been named in WA's 14-player squad for the upcoming Under-17s National Male Cricket Championships. and his advice for anyone still thinking if they should take up the game of cricket.
Do it. It's a good game. It's fun. And it's good to play with your mates and, yeah, just get around it.
Andrew Porter, 7 News.
Now here's Brianna with our weather, and we had quite the downfall overnight.
Thanks, Noel. Ex-tropical cyclone Ellie has stayed with us over the Pilbara and Kimberley today. That low pressure has brought some very heavy rainfall over the northwest in the last 24 hours. To the south, though, we have a high pressure ridge extending across the state. We had some mild maximums there today. Let's look north first, though. 32 degrees was the top for Wyndham and Kununurra. Halls Creek, 22 before 29. Hot and windy in the Pilbara, Exmouth 34. And Paraburdoo was our top at 45 degrees. A warm one in the Midwest, it got to 37 in Geraldton. Inland, Meekatharra reached 42, Leinster 17 before 36. To the southwest, Bunbury reached 32, Bustleton 31, 22 for Cape Lewin, and to the east, Ravensthorpe had a cool night, down to 9 degrees there, a top of 22 in Esperance. And ex-tropical cyclone Ellie has unleashed some very heavy rain for us in the north today. Gibb River reached 131 mils before 9 this morning. Siddons Creek had 228 in the gauge, and it was similar for Leopold Downs with 226. Telfer Airport recorded 0.4, and it was very dry for the southern half. Ex-tropical cyclone Ellie is still lingering over our state, though. I'll be back with more on what that will bring after sport.
OK, thanks, Brianna. This is 7 News, and ahead, a warning around our state's inland waterways and helping birds of prey in our state's southwest. A 21-year-old man has died in a car crash in Corrigin on New Year's Day. Daniel Lewis has been described by friends as a ray of sunshine. Police say he was driving south on Corrigin South Road in the early hours of the morning. His Holden, Colorado was later found, but he died from his injuries. Daniels is the first death on WA roads for 2023. And some sad news about 2 stories we reported on last week about men missing in the goldfields and our southwest. After a search by police and state emergency service personnel, the body of 34-year-old Travis Hart was found after last being seen on Christmas Day near Coolgardie. Another search near Dwellingup found 29-year-old Kane Riley, who'd been missing for several days. And if you or anyone you know needs support, please contact Lifeline on 13 11 14. A warning tonight from Royal Lifesaving Australia for us all to take care no matter where we're swimming. Inland areas record some of the highest rates of drowning deaths.
Over the last 2 weeks, WA has seen a horrific rise in inland drownings.
It's a significant concern for everyone across Australia, and particularly in WA in those inland waterways. So we're certainly deeply concerned about this rise in drowning.
Most recently, a 33-year-old Taiwanese man found dead in Black Diamond Lake near Collie on Christmas Day. 11 drowning deaths were reported in the country over a 4-day period, from Christmas to the 29th, 7 of them in rivers or lakes. Royal Lifesaving Australia says people need to be better aware of the risks associated with swimming in uncomfortable situations, especially because inland swimming locations are not regularly patrolled.
One of them is that there's not patrolled locations, generally speaking. So people are out and they're out at a riverbank, getting in the water, having a good time. And when they get into trouble, it's not like being at the beach where there's somebody to jump in and rescue you if you encounter difficulties.
Statistics show most drownings don't happen in the ocean. 21% of people drowned in rivers, closely followed by swimming pools at 19%. The Christmas New Year period is the deadliest time for drownings, with well more than a quarter of all deaths happening at least an hour away from home and involving the consumption of alcohol. The advice remains the same for the public.
We would really encourage everybody to get their water safety skills up to scratch.
It includes supervising children and less confident swimmers around waterways to avoid drinking alcohol around water and wearing life jackets while fishing and boating. Adam DiTullio, 7 News.
A decades-old Southwest Birds of Prey sanctuary has been given a helping hand by the state government. Eagles Heritage has been awarded grant money to upgrade its facilities.
They're the apex predators of the sky, and out in the wild, it's survival of the fittest.
Birds of prey need to be in perfect condition to be able to hunt, otherwise they won't be able to hunt successfully and eventually they will starve.
For more than 3 decades, Eagles Heritage has committed to the care and rehabilitation of injured and orphaned birds of prey. Currently, they have almost 80 under their wing.
We've got owls, eagles, hawks, falcons and all your kites and everything.
These peregrine falcons can fly up to 320 kilometres an hour, the fastest animal on the planet. It knocks its prey out of the sky at high speeds. Birds like Mr. Grace, a wedge-tailed eagle, are permanent residents. He arrived at the sanctuary blind. While he's regained 80% of his eyesight, it's not enough to hunt for himself. But some birds will make a full recovery.
Striker is an Australian hobby falcon. She's been at Eagles Heritage for about a year now. At the moment, she's learning to build up new skills and strength to hunt again, and will hopefully be released back into the wild in the next few months.
The park has recently been awarded grant money to build 11 new enclosures, allowing it to house roughly 20 extra birds. It's hoped they'll be up and running in the next 6 months.
A lot of the aviaries have been here since Phil and Kathy Payne started the park 35 years ago, so they're starting to get a little bit run down, so it'd be great to be able to replace those.
And by Easter, night owls will be able to tour the park after dark to see nocturnal birds in full flight. Adelaide Williams, 7 News.
Sport is next. Tonight the Scorchers lock in their spot at the top of the BBL ladder. And a jockey fronts stewards over a terrible race fall in yesterday's Perth Cup. The jockey at the centre of a terrifying race fall in yesterday's Perth Cup has admitted to a charge of careless riding. Joseph Azzopardi has been suspended from riding for 6 weeks. The incident in the opening stages of the race resulted in fatal injuries to the horse Chili is Hot. Video shows the horse clipping the heels of Azzopardi's ride Buster Bash. Another horse fell as it tried to jump over the fallen horse and sustained minor injuries. During the hearing, the 27-year-old jockey reportedly said the incident was the low point in his racing career. The Perth Cup race will be run again on Saturday, January 14. The Perth Scorchers have locked in their top spot on the BBL ladder. They did it with a decisive 5-wicket win over the Melbourne Renegades at Marvel Stadium.
The Scorchers were already sitting at the top of the table, recording just 1 loss so far this season.
Going to Bancroft here.
Cameron Bancroft had been left out of the side for the first 5 games.
You know, it's hard watching on the sidelines. The team's been playing really well, but obviously got an opportunity today, and yeah, it was nice to go out there and play and you know, get some runs. It was good.
Yesterday, he was back and firing. He managed to smash 46 runs off just 32 balls before being run out.
2 run-outs in the same over, so this is a big loss for the Scorchers. Just lost their way a little bit.
Bancroft played an instrumental role in getting the Scorchers across the line. South African star Faf de Ploo managed 39 runs off 29 balls. Josh Inglis managed to get Perth home with 47, just 2 balls to spare.
And I think we felt like, you know, the longer he was there, especially, you know, that target we could, in a few balls, few boundaries, obviously get it down to more of a runner ball, which he did amazingly well.
The final score, 5 for 156. The Renegades' best performer, Kane Richardson, 2 wickets for 21. Melbourne lost 2 players during the game. Wicketkeeper Peter Hanscom came off with suspected heat stroke. The most serious casualty, though, Nick Maddison. Early on, he suffered a knee injury when he twisted on his left leg to throw the ball, then collapsed. He underwent scans today. The Scorchers next play Sydney Thunder in Perth on Wednesday.
2020 cricket, it's one of those things that every team, I think, tries to hold on to, a bit of momentum. So, we're playing really well as a team, and hopefully we can, carry that as long as we can.
Andrew Porter, 7 News.
Brianna Melville has the weather next, and then at 6 with Tim McMillan and Angela Sun. A holiday tragedy. 13 people involved in a double chopper crash, 4 people dead. The incredible effort to safely land a damaged helicopter, saving everyone on board.
Hello again. Ex-tropical cyclone Ellie is lingering over the Kimberley tonight. That's expected to move slowly west tonight and tomorrow, and it should get to Broome by about the middle of the week. A severe weather warning is in place for areas in the Kimberley and Pilbara, so make sure to keep checking the latest advice for your area. The system could move over the West Kimberley shore on Wednesday. If it does, that could see it re-intensify back into a cyclone. There's a chance then it may come back over land later in the week. And in the south, a trough along the west coast is expected to push offshore. By Thursday, we'll still be seeing gusty thunderstorms in the Kimberley and North Pilbara, and some light showers are possible along the southeast coast. Very hot though in the Midwest. And by Friday, we'll still see those storms in the Kimberley and North Interior, and that southern trough could move back over land ahead of the next ridge of high pressure. To temperatures now, it'll reach 35 degrees amid the storm in Wyndham tomorrow, 28 expected for Halls Creek and Christmas Island. Similar for the Pilbara, 41 for Marble Bar after 29 there overnight, and winds reaching 45 kilometres an hour in Exmouth. Similar for the Gascoyne, Meekatharra reaching 41, 43 for Murchison, and a scorching 46 for the Junction. Similar down the coast, 42 for Kalbarri. Sunshine for the southwest, 29 degrees for Margaret River, down to 12 overnight in Collie before 32 tomorrow. East, 16 before 22 for Albany, and a cloudy 29 for Katanning. And warm in the wheat belt, Merredin should reach a top of 33. Overcast tomorrow on the southeast coast, 13 before 29 for Lake Grace, 22 the top in Esperance and Eucla, and sunshine for the Goldfields, 35 degrees in Lenora. And there is a gale warning over the north and west Kimberley coasts tomorrow, and a strong wind warning right the way along the Pilbara and Gascoyne coast. It's not all clear in the Midwest either. Wind warnings are also in place off Geraldton, Lancelin, Bunbury and Lewin, but it's looking much calmer off the south coast. Good night.
Thanks, Brianna. That's local news for Monday, the 2nd of January. We'll have news and weather updates for you through the night. Remember, the roads busy right around the state at the moment, and double demerits are in place. Please drive slowly. 7 News from Perth is next. From our team, good night, Western Australia.